So now we've done planning, we've done organizing, and we come around to leading. Leading is kind of, think about it as the transmission almost in engaging the work plan with getting it done by people. See, they've tried to make totally automated environments where everything is done by robots. And the reality is they really haven't mastered it completely. So we've got this dynamic that's thrown in, the human dynamic. That is, we have to get people involved in making the processes work. And for some of you, you know, even if you've spent money on a big piece of capital equipment, and you've picked the right machine, you've got it installed, people can find ways to either make that thing work, or they can find ways to completely screw it up. And so that's the people dynamic, and that's where leadership comes in. So obviously we're going to be concerning ourselves through this training with becoming more effective as leaders. So under the leading category, we have stuff like influencing other people to follow in the achievement of a common goal. That's the motivational piece that many of you were looking for. We have communicating vision. And you say, again, vision, we're just talking about you having a picture in your mind of how you want your department or your group to function in getting its work done. Do you have that vision that you created in the planning stages? How do you now communicate that through your actions and what you talk about in order to get people moving in that direction? Communicating what's going on in the organization. People want to know. You might be thinking to yourself, you don't need to know that information. It doesn't matter. People want to know what's going on, and the work leader is usually the person that they go to. And let's face it, if they have to choose between the grapevine in order to discover what's going on, or the leadership, the grapevine seems to be the one that works the best. I can remember one client of ours with over 300 employees at their plant. They measured the time it took for a rumor that started at the front of the building, how long it would take to go to the back of the building, to the shipping area. And they found that it happened in 20 minutes. Management bangs its head against the wall in trying to get key messages out for months and months and years, and it takes 20 minutes for a juicy rumor to get from the front of the building to the back of the building. So people are interested in what's going on. They want to know what's going on. They also, what we found, and when we get to the communication section of the program, we're going to be talking about the importance of leadership by example and how people actually listen with their eyes almost more than they listen with their ears. And so they're constantly, and this might scare you if you're in a leadership role, anytime you're within eyesight of your staff, you are contributing to them understanding your communication. Just by them looking at you, they're making judgment calls. Does the person seem rushed? Do they seem in control? Are they confident? Are they losing it? What's going on? They're making these judgment calls just by watching you. And training employees comes under the leadership role, because this is where you actually engage people to do the work. Okay, so those are some of the roles under leadership. And developing teamwork would be the other thing. How do I get everyone working together? Because supposedly by working together, we're going to get more done than we would if we were just a bunch of individuals. So this sense of teamwork comes under the leadership role. And again, you may not realize it, but as a leader, you contribute to people either not working well together or working well together. How? By whether you talk about people behind their backs, by whether you play favorites with individuals, by whether you've decided that so-and-so isn't capable of doing the work and so you sort of ostracize them. What you don't know is that by doing those judgment calls, by splitting up the group, even subtly, what you're doing is you're actually diminishing teamwork. And so people won't get as much done when you do it that way. And the last section in the 4 phases of the management cycle is the controlling step. Now the controlling step is concerned with, did we get done what we had hoped to get done? And so when we're looking at controlling, what we're looking at is setting standards for performance. Remember, we've decided up in the planning stage how we're going to measure. So here we start to set standards about how many clients we can see, how much work we should be able to get done based on production rate. Some of you work to a job quotation or a quote to the customer, and you have to meet those production standards. We then concern ourselves with measuring performance against those standards, and here's where the rewards and consequences come in. When we see people doing what we want them to do, we need to reward that performance. Now, reward doesn't mean you have to give them money, although that is one way. What we realize, though, is that even if you gave people money, as we get into that section, In the short term, it will change behaviors, but in the long term, it actually doesn't. So it's really, how do we reward people at an attitude level deep down inside so that they want to keep doing the work? And then finally, when people aren't doing what we want, this is where correcting that unsatisfactory performance comes in. So that is where we either comment and tell them that they're not meeting expectations, or we use progressive discipline to let them know that there's consequences to their actions.